Hi, welcome to this part of my review featuring the Nightfell core book. If you haven't seen the other parts of my review featuring this dark fantasy setting for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, please check out the playlist in the description below. This time we are going to start talking about character creation. In the world of Yurmen, the horrors of the night are a constant that every survivor must adapt to. Most of its inhabitants were born in the eternal darkness, and in it they perpetuate their existence. What moves the spirit of these people is often terror, but also a firm will to restore balance and a new form of civilization that can withstand the burden of evil in this new era. The instinct for survival is often paramount, giving rise to scenes of conflict between survivors or between small settlements that compete for resources. The most organized outposts, on the other hand, collaborate, protect themselves, and desperately guard what remains of the living. Nevertheless, the collective mood is grim, leaving room for mistrust and xenophobia. It is in this miasma of uncertainty and fear that those who roam the night sometimes rise to the challenge. Nocturnal adventurers are moved by motives different from those of ordinary people, capable of giving them the bravery and recklessness needed to venture into the unknown. Still, others embrace the darkness, pursuing their own ends without fear of consequences. Even amongst such individuals, however, few people crave the total nullification inspired by the echoes of death. All characters, both players and non-player characters, participate in a carousel of events to establish new balances in a dying civilization. You have a section explaining cues for characters' motive. Before starting a campaign, it would be especially useful for the Night Master and the players to make a detailed declaration of intents. Adventures in the world of Yurmen are always characterized by dangerous enemies, journeys through bleak and desolate heaths, and visions of horror which would put even the bravest to test. Still, some individuals decide to brave the road. Some choose to fight, hunt down monsters, and put themselves in extreme situations. The motivation and history of the individual characters is fundamental to making sense of the party's journey, intertwining them with the story narrated by the Night Master, and creating a narrative motive that can allow players to identify with the choices they will have to make. In this setting, it would be useful to write a couple more lines about your story and take advantage of the backgrounds described in this manual. They provide some useful concepts in this book. For example, maybe there is no turning back. It is not unusual for even the most common of people to find themselves embroiled in matters larger than themselves. A city guard looking for a creature, a nomad who is missing, a scholar forced to turn research into practice. Unforeseen challenges have found them having to rely on their resilience to face what awaits them in the shadows. There is also dark vocation. Some characters develop a real obsession with darkness and learn to draw power from occult and terrifying forces. They could set off on a journey in search of dark artifacts, forbidden knowledge, or simply experiences at the very edge of reality. They may find themselves helping other people, but their goal will always be to impose themselves in this new society thanks to the abuse of something vile. Maybe you handle the concept of curse victim. Characters may encounter malicious entities, either by accident or voluntarily. Often these interactions include terrible afflictions and dark spells that make a mark on the adventurer's soul. These characters set out in search of a way to untie the curses that afflict them, their loved ones, or even the entire community to which they belong. And these are just a few examples. There are many other concepts and motives, for example, an unusual source of income, no hope, noble ideal, the search for someone or something, scars of the past. Next, we have a section detailing languages of the known lands. Yurmen is an old world, where different cultures and civilizations have risen and fallen. This historical heritage is passed down in the customs and languages of the survivors. Over the millennia, different languages have merged into a single language that everyone could understand. Nevertheless, ethnic idioms are still widely used. there is information on the Wild Jargon and Primordial Runic. Wild Jargon is a very ancient language, precursor even to the first language. Wild Jargon is an oral idiom corresponding to Primordial Runic, a runic alphabet whose characters can represent both phonemes and concepts and images. There is also the language of stone. The world below was once densely populated by people who employed the stone language. Even today, cultures descended from those people use this idiom. In the world below, numbers were engraved on valuable minerals, acting as a currency for local populations. There is also the first language, the first language used by mankind in Yurmen. It was created by the Anireth and was used over the centuries and throughout Yurmen by other human cultures. The first men still remember it and employ it, despite the advent of the common language. The Rizadrin also gave the first language symbols written for numbering, different from those they already employed, and these are used almost by everyone, except by the inhabitants of the underground. Next we have the Whisper of Echoes. This mysterious language is nothing more than the voice of the echoes of death and the creatures of the dark. Listening to such senseless rambling means risking one's sanity, and only those who have a strong connection to the Dark Mirror are able to speak it. It also seems to include some untranslatable symbols, which are sometimes transcribed by those who want to open a door to the dark world of Enferun. And this concludes this part of the review. In the next part we are going to start talking about each of the ethnicities. I can't wait to talk about them. I really like the way that realism is added to this setting through the languages, but also through the motives that directly tie or connect the characters to a particular storyline, or even several plots within a single story. Thank you for watching this part of the review. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that have been supporting the channel by sending drive-thru RPG gift certificates. If anyone else wants to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you, and see you later.